Whether or not you're already on Medicare, you've probably heard the buzz around this open enrollment season, or as the industry folks call it, AEP, which stands for Annual Election Period. There's a certain frenzy that picks up around this time of year. Tons more commercials, Facebook ads, junk mail, harassing phone calls. Everyone is scrambling to find out what they need to do, if anything. It's easy to just freeze and ignore it all. Sometimes it feels like you have to relearn all this Medicare stuff all over again. You finally got it down and made a choice when you turned 65, but now it might feel like you have to relive that every single year. How do you know what even applies to you? What doesn't apply to you? Do you even need to pay attention? Who is open enrollment for? What is the annual notice of changes? I'm going to clear all this up for you and more, including how to determine if you should make a change or not. I'm Pam Turner, the creator and facilitator of the Medicare Facebook group known as Navigating Medicare the Easy Way. I help you to put aside all those fears and worries about getting onto Medicare and enrolling in the right plan by streamlining the whole process for you. Open enrollment, or AEP, the annual election period that happens every year from October 15th to December 7th, is this window for Medicare eligibles who are already enrolled in Medicare Advantage plans or standalone Part D drug plans. It's not the time frame to add Medicare A and B for the first time. If you have original Medicare paired with a Medigap plan, this period doesn't technically apply to your Medigap policy, but it is the time to review your standalone drug plan. I'll be talking about what changes you can make during the open enrollment if you have a Medigap plan and a standalone drug plan in a few minutes. If you're already enrolled in a Medicare Advantage plan, this is your earliest chance this coming open enrollment to make changes for 2026 effective January 1st. And there's another opportunity come January that I'm going to mention in a little bit. Here's what you can do if you currently have an Advantage plan. You can switch to a different Medicare Advantage plan. You can go back to original Medicare, but you must be careful because you may not be guaranteed enrollment into a Medigap plan. You can join a Part D drug plan if you're switching back to original Medicare, or just review your current coverage and decide if you want to keep things the way they are. If you're not on Medicare yet, does this enrollment period have anything to do with you? It doesn't. If you're not on Medicare yet, maybe you're turning 65 in 2026 or working and delaying Medicare, you don't need to take any action during this fall open enrollment window. Your time will come during your initial enrollment period, which is your personal 7-month window around your 65th birthday or whenever you retire or drop your group employer plan. That's when you'll make your first coverage choices. But even if you're not enrolling this year, it's smart to watch how things work. The more familiar you are with these various timelines and decisions, the smoother the process is going to be for you later. So what is this annual notice of change, or ANOC? It's ANOC, and how do you use it? Every September, Medicare Advantage and Part D drug plan members receive something called the ANOC, or Annual Notice of Change. I do have a habit of saying annual notice of changes, plural. I think it's technically change. But this letter, it comes from your current insurance company. It doesn't come from Medicare. It outlines any changes to your plan for the upcoming year, including increases in the monthly cost of your plan, known as premium, any changes in copays, changes in deductibles, which is an upfront out-of-pocket amount you must meet before your plan pays. It's not outlining changes to your Social Security or changes to your Part B premiums or deductible. Keep in mind that your plan might have the following changes that are not listed on the annual notice of changes. It's common for the document to mention a general change for certain services, and then, like it'll actually list out almost an entire summary of benefits for Advantage plans, and then this year and what's going to change for next year. But then it's going to typically direct you to the plan's website to further investigate other changes. And this is where you need to be careful. Let me give you an example. It's common for there to be changes to the list of approved drugs, known as a formulary, and the document typically isn't going to spell this out for you. It won't look up your specific drugs you're currently taking and list it out on the document which drugs of yours are still covered and which ones are not in 2026. It's going to prompt you to check their 2026 formulary on the plan website. At least this is what I've seen in prior years. So it's easy to be complacent and just say, oh, everything looks great, I'm just going to stay put. So you can investigate on the website as early as October 1st. It's crucial that you realize that just because it doesn't mention your specific drugs, it doesn't mean that there's no changes. This also may be the case with pharmacy networks and doctor and hospital networks. It may not spell it out in black and white in the document. However, it might. I don't know how they're going to do things exactly this time, but in the past I've seen this where they don't spell everything out. Typically, anytime during the year, though, when there's a change with your primary doctor, usually you will get a letter or notice, especially, about doctors you've been using or even specialists or a hospital in the network that's dropping out of the plan. But I'd still recommend visiting your plan's website and checking to see if your providers are still in the network for 2026. If you have a Medigap plan, there is no provider network. Reading your annual notice of changes is crucial, especially for cases where drug plan premiums might skyrocket or when Advantage plans make major changes to their plan benefits. This is the first step in knowing whether your plan is still a good fit. But again, this is just the first step, and most of you are going to need to dig a little further on the plan's website to make sure that you didn't miss anything. Now, if you're already an existing client of mine, I take care of your plan review for you. While I can't do free plan reviews for everybody out there, if you're not already a client, I wish that I could, but I do accept new client appointments during the open enrollment if you're planning to make a switch and you need help navigating that process. And closing on the annual notice of changes, again, I'm repeating, don't assume that there's not additional changes to the providers or approved drugs just because it's not listed in detail on the annual notice of changes letter. It's likely going to be telling you in that letter to go to the plan website and investigate further. And don't assume that your plan stays the same just because you're happy with it this year. Let me know in the comments if you've already received your ANOC letter, and if you have an Advantage plan, does it mention changes to your providers or does it prompt you to check the website? Wouldn't it be nice if everything could just stay the same each year? I only wish for that. That would be great. Now, how to know whether or not you even want to make a switch? I mean, you might be like, well, it's been great. I don't know what to even look for. Here are a few signs that it's worth taking a further look at your coverage. When you do check that letter, if your plan premium and copays are going up, okay, this one's easy, so that is a sign that you may want to shop around. I did promise, though, that I'd mention Medigap plans again. So I already said that this coming open enrollment is not for Medigap plans. Actually, there isn't one at all. There is no annual enrollment period for Medigap plans. But it's still a valid time to consider switching because you can submit a Medigap application any time of year. Your state might require health questions, so your acceptance might not be guaranteed, but this is the time to try, and it doesn't cost anything. If your rate has been getting really high, you can still consider switching to get a lower monthly rate. This would also be a good time of year to consider making a Medigap to Advantage plan switch. This is because this is the only time of year where you can enroll in an Advantage plan when you don't already have one, other than when you first get Medicare. If you're wanting a new lower cost Medigap plan or moving from Advantage to Medigap, you're going to submit the new Medigap plan enrollment first to make sure you get approved, and do this early within the open enrollment. Then you follow through with canceling your old coverage. I specialize in guiding you through this process for free if you need help. It can feel like there's a lot of moving parts, especially when you're going from an Advantage plan to a Medigap plan. Another reason you might want to make a switch, if your prescriptions have changed or your drug costs have been feeling exceptionally high on your current plan, if you've had a health change, maybe a new diagnosis, a new specialist, or more doctor visits, you might want to shop around to improve your coverage. Another reason to switch might be that you've been using some out-of-network providers without even realizing it, and then all of a sudden you're getting extra high bills. Maybe now's the time to look into that. Or maybe you've never ever reviewed your plan since you've been on Medicare and you've just been letting it auto renew each year. Even if nothing has changed in your health, your plan may have changed behind the scenes. This is where working with a broker like me can help you spot savings or gaps that you might not catch on your own. I help clients save thousands a year simply by switching to a more cost-effective Medigap plan or switching to an Advantage plan after they realize that they're way overpaying on the monthly cost of their plan for their current needs. So when do the changes take effect? Any changes you make during the open enrollment go into effect January 1st, 2026. And it is a little frustrating because you might feel like you're so ready for a change, and even if you make a change in October, it doesn't seem fair to have to wait all the way until January 1st. However, this does allow for some breathing room if you second guess your decision or maybe you lose track of time and you don't get your changes made until late November. And there's also a safety net for those with Advantage plans. Whether you've always had an Advantage plan or you decide to join one for the first time this coming open enrollment, your safety net to make one more change runs from January to the end of March. This is helpful for those that rush into the decision, or maybe you realize after all it's not for you, or maybe your doctor turns out didn't even accept the plan and you didn't realize that. Whatever the reason, you're allowed a one-time opportunity from January to March 31st to switch or drop your Advantage plan altogether. This time frame is not to add an Advantage plan for the first time, the one in January. That's only for the fall open enrollment, or of course your initial window on the Medicare allows that as well. What if you change your mind during the fall open enrollment? Is it too late? Actually, it's not too late, because during AEP, the fall open enrollment that goes from October 15th to December 7th, you can make as many plan enrollments as you want, believe it or not. And the last one is the one that sticks. I certainly don't recommend that, but it's nice to have the flexibility if life happens or if something changes. And again, this isn't for Medigap plans at all. And just to reiterate, when it comes to changing your mind for the Advantage plan folks, you have the one-time opportunity in the January 1st to March 31st open enrollment. Here's how to work with me as your broker to save money in 2026. And it's actually not always just about saving money, though. It's about how it feels to get the help you deserve, not always feel like you have to wade through all these details on your own each and every year. And I can help you make the most of open enrollment year after year, whether it's finding a lower cost Medigap plan, comparing Medicare Advantage plans in your zip code, making sure your prescriptions are covered, or just confirming that your current plan is still the best option. I walk you through the process step by step. And because I'm independent, I'm not tied to any one insurance company. I focus on what's best for you. Most of my clients feel relief after just one conversation because they realize that it actually doesn't even have to be complicated. You don't have to do it alone. You don't have to navigate through the fine print or sift through conflicting information that makes you constantly second guess what you thought you knew, not to mention that there's changes every single year. Open enrollment doesn't have to be overwhelming. With the right information, a clear plan, the right support, you can feel confident going into 2026, knowing you made the best choices for your situation. Once you've checked on your changes coming up for 2026 and you realize you're not happy with where you're at, you can book on my calendar to get help to improve your situation for 2026. You can visit the contact page over at decodingmedicare.com to view my calendar and book a time slot. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you in the next video.